beautiful Miami, and Hard Rock Stadium, site of this year's Capital One Orange Bowl, part, of course, of the college football playoff. Hi, folks, and welcome to this highly competitive matchup, as we'll see a squad from the SEC, LSU Tigers, taking on the #1 team in the land, the Texas Longhorns. For EA Sports College Football, I'm Chris Fowler here with Kirk Herbstreit. Let's get this thing underway. Returner looking to make a play here. To be tackled at the 17. Strong job by the coverage team. The Tigers offense is up first today. And Kirk, this running back is almost a throwback, a durable workhorse. They just count on him time after time.
And I think, Chris, the thing that I love about this guy is whether it's in the run game, obviously, to be able to bounce it outside.
To Pasadena and the majestic Rose Bowl, one of the unique settings in all of sports. This year's Rose Bowl, presented by Prudential, is a crucial part of the college football playoff. Hi, folks, and welcome to this highly competitive matchup, as we'll see a squad from the SEC, LSU Tigers, taking on the #1 team in the land, the Texas Longhorns. For EA Sports, I'm Chris Fowler, joined in the booth by Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk, let's get this thing going. They get set to kick it away. Looks like the returner will try and field this one. Coverage team flying downfield, not much gained. Orange offense comes on the field open. We got a real treat today. We're going to see a matchup between a high-powered offense that's been almost impossible to stop against a defense that's been shutting people down, Kirk. This should be fun.
Well, this is what really you hope for in a game of this magnitude is good versus good. That's what we have, as you said, Chris. Outstanding offense, been producing all year, and this defense has been taking no prisoners, just dominant. Something's got to give today.
Throw to the quarterback off the RPO. Brought down to the 23. Good enough for a first down. Handoff here from the shotgun. Just a small gain. Looking at 2nd and 9. Quick throw caught on the left side. Bringing up for the first down with a 37. Longhorns moving quickly down. it on the ground. There's the handoff. And he goes nowhere. Stopped cold behind the line of scrimmage.
Chris, this is what I love to see from a defense is the linebackers are scraping, doing their job, but you need help from the secondary. And when you have aggressive tacklers on the back end, you got a great defense. This time, the secondary makes the difference.
Didn't expect to lose 4 in the first down run. Set up now 2nd and 14. Dropping back. It's Manning. Wide open downfield. They finally get him down, but a big play to the 46.
Chris, what a play here by this receiver for a big game for Texas. And you think back over the years with Texas going back decades, I always think about running backs and, of course, quarterbacks. But there have been some receivers, Roy Williams and Devin Duvernay, guys like that. There have been others. But, man, plays like this is what you love to see. And kind of creating that new legacy for Texas of having elite receivers.
Incompletion sets up a 2nd down. Wants to throw it. Tries to get it to the running back. Catch is made down the middle. All the way. They couldn't stop him. Touchdown, Texas. A horrible field position to start the drive, Kirk, but they just march right down the field and get points.
Chris, this offensive coordinator deserves a raise after that opening drive. The way they orchestrated this inside their own 15 to come away with points, impressive.
And the PAT makes it 7-0. Got momentum after scoring that touchdown. Now the kickoff team out there to kick it away. They'll return it from inside the 5. Makes it to the 16. That's good coverage there. So the LSU Tigers offense comes out for their first possession today. Because we know this top quarterback is a confident guy, but talking to him, he's also well aware how good that edge pass rusher on the other side is.
Well, he better be ready today. He's got great skill. We know what he's capable of doing, but this will be the best defensive end that he's faced all year with that kind of pass rushing ability. So he's going to have to maneuver around in that pocket to make plays. Well, how about that? Another LSU wide receiver makes a big-time catch for the Tigers offense. Oh, just a couple names to throw out. How about OBJ? How about Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, who right now arguably two of the top receivers in the NFL, all from LSU. And watching this young man right here, he's hoping he's next in line.
Defense is coming after him. He'll just throw that one away to avoid what would have been a sack. Incomplete. 2nd down coming up. Using his legs. It's Durham. First down and more. He's still running. And he runs out of bounds. That's a big gainer there.
Big runs like this are just demoralizing for a defense. It's one thing to give up big plays over your head against the pass game. When teams can run the ball, pick up yards like this, really affects the team's mental psyche and their confidence. And you'll start to see some missed tackles following a play like this.
And then 4th down, right back to the running game. And a decent gain there before the defense brings him down. 2nd down after that run on the previous play. And they'll run it out of the shotgun. Going absolutely nowhere. That would be a loss on the play. Offense been in reverse here. Now a long way to go to convert this 3rd down. Looking to pass. It's Nussmeier. He lets it go on the move. Oh, and he almost picked it off. Nearly a turnover here on the opening drive. It's going to bring up 4th down. So now on 4th down, out comes the field goal unit. And that one's straight down the middle.
I was watching this guy in pregame. He has got a strong leg. I'm surprised here he's able to put 3 points up here for the offense.
So after the field goal, the kicker out there again to boot it away. And he takes this from inside the 5. And he stopped at the 20, trying to make something happen, but that's good coverage there. Here's the 1st first play of the drive now from the 20-yard line. Off the play fake on first down. Fires it to the wideout. Oh, what a grab! Solid gain there. Moves the ball out to the 32. Fresh set of downs. It's 1st and 10. There's the snap. Quarterback setting up the throw. Caught near the sideline, but just a short gain. What's the play call here on 2nd down for this offense? From the shotgun, drops back. And a short pitch and catch to the tight end. Uses the stiff arm and gets past the marker before being taken down. The Longhorns begin a new series here, 1st and 10. Off the play fake, looking to pass it. Receiver makes the catch. He'll be taken down, but he crosses midfield at the 48. The drive stays alive with that completion for a 1st down. Shotgun formation, here's an inside give. They'll stop him behind the line for a loss of 1. Offense getting set. It's 2nd down. To throw, it's Manning. Finds his man. Defense surrounds him. Just a short gain on that completion. They're backed up here, trying to make something happen on 3rd and long. Dropping back, looking to throw for the 1st down. Looks toward the sideline, finds the running back. He's stopped short of the marker, so it's 4th down now. Longhorns will send their punt team onto the field. He's on to boot it away now. Punt goes out of bounds. Looks like they'll spot it near the 15. Here's the first play of the drive now, backed up at the 15. And they'll keep it on the ground. Running back has a handoff. The junior able to bring him down quickly. The offense will line up. Chance for a couple more plays before the end of the quarter. Grab behind the line. It's Brown. They bring him down quickly. A short pitch and catch to get a little bit closer to the marker. They begin the quarter with a crucial play, often setting up for this 3rd down. So Texas has the lead, Kirk, as we break here for the quarter. And at the end of the 1st quarter, let's check out the stats so far. They've flipped ends of the field. We're ready now for the 2nd period. Offense looking to keep the drive alive. It's 3rd down. And the back gets the football. Tackled at the 32. That's enough for a 1st down. A running play gives the offense a fresh set of downs. On 1st down, why not keep it on the ground? That one moves the ball across the 40. 2nd down after that run on the previous play. Quarterback drops back. Caught over the middle. It's Anderson. Brought down, but not before he gets into enemy territory at the 49. This LSU offense is moving quickly down the field. And the running back takes the handoff. Strong defense. They stop him right near the line of scrimmage. The offense with 5 receivers now, empty backfield. Looking downfield, it's Nussmeier. Finds that big tight end for a short pass. Receiver brought down after a short pitch and catch. Here we go, 3rd and short in the 7th play of this drive. Out of the gun now on 3rd down. Grab down the middle. It's Sharp. They bring him down, but this offense now in scoring position. 1st down from the 30.
Boy, the quarterback looks so confident there with this throw. Good job up front with the offensive line protecting on a pivotal 3rd down. And anytime you're trailing in a game, you want to be able to convert. So good job by this offense.
Offense sets up for play number 8 on this drive. 1st down, looking to throw the ball. Running out of time in the pocket. Oh, down he goes. It's a sack.
Finally, the defense is able to come up with a play on this drive. Let's face it, this offense has been able to put things together. Quarterback's had a nice drive, but finally, great job of getting the pressure and getting after that quarterback.
The sack moves him into extreme field goal range. You've got to do something now on 2nd and long. Looking to pass here on 2nd down. He's hit low as he throws it. Incomplete. The offense 2 for 2 on 3rd downs in this drive, but this will be tough. It's 3rd and long. Out of the gun now on 3rd down. Hunt over the middle. It's Brown. They make the stop, but that moves the football to the 16. It'll be first down. Off the play fake, looking to throw on first down. That one falls incomplete. Good defensive play. Brings up second down. From the shotgun, it's a handoff. Defense gets him down, but they'll take the gain on that play. Crucial. Third down coming up in the red zone. Can he keep the drive going, or will they have to settle for 3? Nowhere to go. The ball knocked loose. The offense able to fall on the football. Lucky to maintain possession there.
Well, the offense catches a break here. Lucky to jump on the ball after coughing it up. He's lucky that his other teammates had some good awareness.
So on fourth down now, out comes the field goal unit. He made good on his first try. This one is from 36 yards away. Knocks that one right down the middle.
Oh, Chris, it's a nice kick here to polish off that drive with at least 3 points up on the board.
Following the field goal, the kickoff team is out there now. Fields it inside the 5-yard line. And they stop him at the 23. That's solid coverage. We reach the 2-minute timeout. We'll see if the offense here can build on this lead before the break. He keeps it. QB draw. They test the middle of the defense, but get nothing. Second down play coming up. Ball handed off. They feed it to the back again and again. Nowhere to run. The running game has been smothered. Timeout is called to duck strategy late in this close game with halftime approaching. To throw, it's Manning. Catch made on the out route. They make the stop just short of the first. Looks like inches to go, and now fourth down. Longhorns will have to punt this one away. And he'll kick it away now for the second time. He was hoping that would check up, but a big bounce sends it into the end zone for a touchback. Play action here on first down. With the catch, it's Sharp. They bring him down, but the drive has now reached the 35. Tackle made, but a strong arm throw by the senior quarterback. On first and 10, they'll look to throw it. Looking for the wideout. Oh, they can't bring it in. A chance for a takeaway. They're one of the star players on this defense. Couldn't make it. QB tries it again here on second and 10. Running with purpose. And he's brought down, but they went backwards after the completion. Good work by the defense. They get to the line in a hurry here for this third down. Dropping back, looking to throw for the first down. Fires it to the wideout. Grab down the middle. It's Anderson. Breaks into the clear. And it's a long-distance house call. Touchdown, LSU.
This guy can do it all. We've seen him go behind coverage and make plays downfield. We can see him catch the ball underneath, just like this. When he catches a football, he is so dangerous after the catch. This one leads him into the end zone for the 6 points.
They'll try to add to the lead now with the PAT. Make the extra point and go up 6. So after the touchdown, here's the kickoff, and we'll see if the opposing offense has time to answer before halftime. Bringing it out, it's Gibson. What a step! They bring him down, but that's good work by the return team. He found the lane as this drive's going to start with decent field position. To the air, it's Manning. Lets it go quickly. Catch made in space. Look out. All the way to the end zone. What a run. Touchdown, Longhorns.
Well, that's how you close a half up. And what a game we have already here. Looks like we're going to be all tied up heading into half after the throw for 6.
here comes the point after attempt. And the PAT is good. It puts them in front, 14-13 now. So the offense getting some momentum before halftime with the touchdown. Now they kick off in hopes the defense can get a quick stop. Fields it just outside the goal line. And they stop him at the 23. That's solid coverage. And they'll start the drive here from the 23-yard line. And looking to throw now on first down. Caught over the middle. It's Brown. They stop him out at the 42. That's a solid gain, getting closer to midfield. One play, and they're already past the 40. First and 10. And the quarterback drops back, looking for an open man. That's going to be incomplete. A first down drop here in the middle of the field. After the incompletion, second and 10 from the 42. And he's back to throw again on second down. He cannot escape. It's a sack.
I can't believe the amount of pressure this defense is getting on this quarterback. Sack after sack. Boy, you got to think about changing things up. The snap count, the scheme, anything at all to help this offensive line. They're overmatched so far in this game.
Time ticking away. Time for just one more play before halftime. Ball handed off. Oh, look at the quick cut. And they get him down what will be the final play of this first half. Minutes going to wrap up the first half here. Let's kick it down to Kevin Connors with our halftime update.
All right, guys, thanks. Looks like we've had ourselves a very enjoyable first half so far. And this has just been a passing clinic, really, by both offenses. They've effectively stretched these defenses, forcing the secondaries to cover every blade of grass, and they've still racked up big plays. Man or zone, pick your poison, or lay some blame at the feet of those pass rushers who can't do anything against the maulers on that offensive line. Either way, it's time to find out. Back to the best in the biz for the start of this third quarter.
The Longhorns will kick this away to start the second half.
Texas.
Fielded in the end zone. It's Brown. Tackle at the 13. Not great field position to start the drive. Here's the first play of the drive. They'll set up from the 13. Off the play fake, looking to throw. They pressure him and get him. A loss back to the 7-yard line.
Well, you got to do a better job with your fake as a quarterback. The defense did not bite at all on the play action, allowing them to continue to come after the quarterback and come up with that sack.
From their own 7, it's now second and long. Scanning the field, it's Nussmeier. Quick throw complete to the tight end. And the defense swarms, not much of a gain on that completion. Looking to throw it on third and very long. Looking to set up a screen pass here. The defense stops him short of the marker in that screen. Fourth down coming up. Hunting ready to boot it away. And it's taken at the 25. And the coverage team makes the stop on this return. The first play of this drive now is set up at the 34. Here comes a first down pass attempt. Wide open downfield. Brought down that crosses midfield to the 46. How aggressive will they be on this first down play? Quarterback looking to connect with the receiver here. That's caught. It's Moore.
Quarterback looks downfield to make this throw. He wants to be able to get the ball to be able to pick up enough yards for a first down. But instead, he gets the ball at least underneath to the drag route and gets some positive yards.
Pass caught. Second down now. It's an RPO. The quarterback gets it out quickly. Good enough for first down yardage. Longhorns come to the line to set a fresh set of downs. On 1st and 10, looking to throw. Caught by the receiver. They make the tackle, but not before a solid gain on that pass. Pass complete. It's 2nd down now. And the ball is handed off out of the shotgun. Slams right into a wall. They've got him for a loss. So let's see what the play caller likes here on 3rd and short from the +27. Scanning the field. It's Manning. Can't hold on. Good defensive play. Brings up a 4th down. Longhorns will look to convert here on 4th down. Trying for a 4th down completion. The pocket breaking down. He's not going to get there. The defense rises up and makes a huge 4th down stop. It's a keeper. Run it up the middle, but stuffed for no gain. Quickly behind the sticks here after the loss. 2nd down and 11. Quarterback wants to throw it on 2nd down. Oh, the pass rush gets home.
Man, how do you like to be the offensive coordinator for this team right now, with the offensive line coach trying to come up with any answer at all to deal with this pass rush? That's 5 sacks now in this game. They cannot seem to stop this pressure from this defense.
So here comes 3rd and long. Giving up that sack has made this a real challenge for the offense. Just standing there, gets hit again.
If I'm on this offensive line, man, I do not want to see the game flip. This has been a tough game for the big boys. It appears almost like they've just been moonwalking the entire game, and they've been pushed all around. That's 6 sacks surrendered already in this game.
Special teams on the field now. Here comes a punt. Looking to kick it away for the 2nd time. No fair catch. Looking to make a return here. Good effort by the return man. They get him down, but that's a solid gain in return. Here comes the opening play of the drive. They begin at their own 45-yard line. On 1st down, it's play action. Graham down the middle. It's Moore. Tackle made after a nice pickup on the play. See what the call is on 1st and 10. Looking right. This one caught. And the game just good enough for a 1st down. Back-to-back chunk plays to begin the drive. The defense on their heels. Looking to pass. It's Manning. The pass rush closing in. He's looking to scramble. Quarterback gets down to avoid the big hit.
Well, they did a good job of getting pressure on the quarterback, but, man, make the play. Bring him down. Instead, they give up positive yards here on the scramble.
The Longhorns are looking to take advantage of this red zone trip. The back's got it. Great cut there.
Great offenses are able to stay ahead of the chains, and runs like that on 1st down are exactly what I'm talking about. Now you have a lot that you can call here on this 2nd down.
He's got it near the end zone. He will score. Touchdown, Texas.
Well, another touchdown pass for this quarterback. Multiple scores on the day. He is in total control of this offense right now, and the defense just doesn't have an answer.
Get set now to try the PAT. The extra point is good, and they stretch the lead a little bit more. Kickoff team out there, they are fired up after just scoring a touchdown. Bringing it out, it's Brown. Tackle at the 13, not great field position to start the drive. Here's the first play of the drive. They'll set up from the 13. Trying to flex the ground game here. Running back takes the handoff. Defense stops him short of the 1st down marker, and that'll do it in the 3rd quarter of play. So Texas has the lead, Kirk, as we break here for the quarter. Sitting in pretty good position as we wrap up the 3rd quarter. Let's check out the game stats so far. the fourth quarter. Who's going to make the crucial plays to take home this W? Here we go. First play of the quarter. Offense setting up for a second down play. Looking to throw. It's Nussmeier. What a catch! They bring him down, but that's a good play. Moves the ball to the 39. This line getting set up. It's a first down play. There's the snap. They'll set up to throw. No connection there. The pass is incomplete. Second and 10 after the previous play. Here's the snap. Quarterback drops back. Running back grabs it on the screen. And the defense smothers him for no gain. They come to the line. A long way to go for the first down, but needing this crucial conversion right now. Drops back, looking to throw for it on third down. Caught over the middle. It's Anderson. Tackle is made very near midfield. Good enough for a first down. This LSU offense is moving quickly down the field. First down. Looking to throw the football. Gets the ball off as he's hit, but it's incomplete. And the incompletion now makes it second and 10 from the 49. Off play action. He's looking to throw. Looking to make a play deep downfield. Deep ball is caught for a huge gain here.
And the defense is spread all over the field, creating some one-on-one matchups, and the quarterback makes them pay for it.
LSU getting set with a first and 10 coming up. Running back with the football. Stopped after a small gain. Now looking at second and 9. And the 8th play on this drive coming up. Quarterback looking to throw it on second down. Looking to the end zone. Oh, he can't hang on. What an opportunity to score there. Instead, incomplete and third down. Back to pass. It's Nussmeier. Bringing pressure. Slides down to avoid the tackle. So here we go. Down one score. We're going to go for it on fourth down. On the ground, it's Durham. And he stops short. Huge play by the defense on fourth down. They will take over, protecting this lead. Breaks free. That's a nice wrap-up there by the junior. Getting set. Here's second down. Grinding away on the ground. Gets the first and still running. Now a timeout taken by the defense, trying to preserve as much clock as possible for their offense. Fresh set of downs for the offense. First down. Off the play fake, looking to throw. A deep shot to the left side. Picked off, a crucial turnover. Not much on the return there, but the takeaway will give the offense the football at the 46.
Boy, I got to question the play call right here. Give the defense credit. They get the interception. They put themselves in a spot to maybe tie this game. But what was the offensive coordinator thinking with the lead, taking a chance, and it backfires?
So here comes the first play of the drive. They'll begin at their own 46. Play action fake, looking to throw. He's hit as he throws it. And it's incomplete. The defender arrived the same time as the football. And now it's second down. Back behind the quarterback now in the pistol. And he's back to throw again on second and 10. Oh, and it's almost picked off. A chance for their first interception today. Going to set up third down. To the air, it's Nussmeier. Here's a screen pass to the running back.
Good job here by the defense on third down. Forget about throwing downfield. They go short, and they make them pay for it with a loss of yardage.
Fourth down, looking to throw for it. Looking downfield near the end zone. Touchdown, LSU. Great catch when they desperately needed it.
Boy, what a great job by this offense to put this touchdown up on the board with under 3 minutes to go. It's a no-brainer. You go for two and try to tie this game up here late.
So following the touchdown, now the offense looks for the two-point conversion to tie this game up late. And the quarterback dropping back. Oh, it's incomplete. It was right in his hands, and he dropped it. So after putting up the touchdown, the kickoff team is out there to boot it away. Fielded in the end zone. It's Gibson. We'll head to the 2-minute timeout as this offense tries to work the clock and preserve this lead. And the first play of the drive now from the 25. Out of the shotgun, he'll hand it off. They bring him down to the 32-yard line. And now it's the defense that calls timeout here, trying to get organized and preserve as much clock as possible. Second and short. This offense can keep this up. They're going to wrap the game up comfortably. And he goes nowhere. Stopped cold behind the line of scrimmage. And now a timeout taken by the defense, trying to preserve as much clock as possible for their offense. Hand off to the single back. That's a good effort on the run, but the defense stops him just short of the marker. 4th down now. Longhorns will line up to boot it away. It's a booming punt, showcasing the leg strength. Or it lands just short of the goal line, but bounces in for a touchback. And that Bayou Bengals offense is back out on the field. A classic finish developing here, and a chance to take the lead right here on this possession. Can't get it away. The defense has got him. What a huge stop at the stage of the game.
And we're in the 4th quarter. This offense is spreading you out. They're trying to get a one-on-one matchup that they can take advantage of. And what does the defense do? They get aggressive. Late in the game, trying to preserve this lead, they come up with a big sack.
Dropping back, it's Nussmeier. He's running out of time here. Looking for a late deep shot. And he's intercepted. Oh, he's bringing it back. They finally bring him down, but what a return after the takeaway.
I get wanting to be aggressive, but down late in the game like this, that's a throw you just can't make. And now, you're probably not going to get the ball back. This could end up costing him the game.
So with the lead secure here, it's time to just take a knee, run out the clock, and plan the victory celebration. Looks like the quarterback will just take a knee here.